Well, I'm going to be honest with you, completely honest. You wouldn't be here if your aguachile wasn't fire. I'm a fan
Thanks,
of
man.
your aguachile. Also, your taco dorados, your shrimp tacos are phenomenal, like chef's kiss.
On this episode of the Creative Dad Pod, we're hanging out with Edgar Nava, co-owner of Correa's Mariscos and Cocina. Edgar grew up in Los Angeles, where cultures and flavors collide. Now he's blending that rich mix into a fresh LA-style take on Mariscos. Running a restaurant is no joke, but Edgar finds his composure and pleasure in the chaos, thanks to good food, loyal regulars, and a strong LA creative community. After growing up around the family business, he's now raising his family in the same world. Edgar stops by to talk about being a dad in the kitchen, being two places at once, and the real-life lessons that come from growing up in a hustle-driven, flavor-filled environment. Partner to Dulce and father to Mila, welcome to the pod, Edgar Nava.
Your uncle started Correa's, right? Like 20 years ago?
Yeah.
20 plus years ago, right? But you started the pop-up inside. Is that correct?
Actually, he's the one that brought up the idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was his idea to start serving that food in there, and at that time I had left a job that I'd ventured out and tried for a bit, and I didn't find myself in that job as well too.
Yeah.
So I left that, and my uncle, growing up, he was always, I guess now realizing, what he, like, more than just an uncle, was more of like almost a father figure in a way, in his way of advice that he would give me. So when he saw me in that point in time, he would always advise or give me the advice of school and work. So he said, if you're not going to continue school, if you don't see yourself continuing school, your best bet is to work for yourself, right? Create something or do something for yourself. So that's when he brought up the idea, I guess for him, before he started the store, before he became a butcher, he worked in a seafood, in a Mariscos truck. Worked in a Mariscos truck, yeah.
So he already had that experience.
He had that experience, and I guess he had that as more of like plan B in case the store or if something else came across where he needed a different outlet to work out of. So that was always in his back pocket to do. And at that point, because he saw me leaving that job and looking for another job, we're kind of like roaming around for a bit. It was his idea to start that inside the store, and he told me if I was up for it, if I wanted to take a part in it, and if so, I was going to be in charge of prepping the food and servicing it and just bringing it forward, right? So I thought it was a cool idea. I thought for sure it was going to be a cool project to take on, and for the most part, it felt that way because it was within the store. It was like the place I grew up in as well too. Most of my childhood, walking in there every day, after school, and then on the weekends helping them out. So it was cool finally being able to work in there. So that's how it started pretty much. It was my uncle's idea, and
because he was in the Mariscos truck, he kind of knew the inside outs of making traditional Mariscos, right?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, I think his for the most part, it was just his experience in that truck, the way they prepared the food itself, So he kind of, I guess he had that idea and at least the preparation behind it, what it took, how to source and how to cook certain things and how to make it efficient to be able to prep for like a day and a week, and have stuff ready. So he had that idea. He gave me a quick like rundown on how to prep stuff, how to season. That was like the instructional point that stuck to me for the duration of what was going to be, or the Mariscos business, is how to season the food, how to use the salt, how to use the garlic, and then the limes as well too, and all that. So he gave me that rundown, and from there, like that it was imprinted in me, and I just took off from there. And then after that, it was like I was in charge of prepping everything, all the food, and along with my aunt too, she would help out as well too. She gave me that the helping hand as well. But then after a year or so, the first year and a half after that went on, I started becoming more interested in finding finding a passion for the food. Because
you didn't grow up liking Mariscos, or
I grew up eating Mariscos randomly. It's not something that, because it doesn't necessarily come from the region that my family's from.
Right.
So we didn't grow up eating Mariscos heavily. My cousins were the ones that, whenever they were older cousins, whenever they woke up hungover, like on a Sunday or Saturday, they would invite me, and I would go over and we would go over and get some food, some Mariscos. And so, yeah, I mean, that's I guess started eating Mariscos a little bit older, like in teen years.
Okay.
But it wasn't something that was heavily influenced when I was a kid, growing up.
When you're learning about Mariscos and how to prepare it, were you finally able to do your own recipes and your own flavors? When were you able to break away from what was supposed to be and make it your own?
Yeah, that was after a year, probably the first half year to a year of starting the pop-up. That's when I started, because at first I would say the first couple of months, it was just the community of the customers that were already coming into the store and just seeing that addition to the shop of serving the Mariscos. So it wasn't really selling food to an outside crowd. It was more just the people that are already there. But once I started seeing different people coming in and different customers, just because they heard, they're starting to sell food. That's when I started realizing, all right, I have to sell a product now, right? How am I going to speak about it? How am I going to speak about the fish that I'm using for this ceviche, or the way I prep this without giving away my recipe, or without giving away every single ingredient. So I had to find a way to just learn to speak on the product, on the preparation of it, and make it interesting as well too.
Right.
So that's when you'd go back home and just do a little research on terms and ways of describing certain preparation methods and whatnot. So that way, that would come back and customers and make it more of an experience too, So that way it's people are coming in to buy the food, and then myself just speaking passionately about it.
That's a mature way of thinking that, because usually people just make it and they think, I got to sell this product, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to move it with flavor and some social media. But you are ready. It sounds like you're ready for television. It sounds like you're ready for radio. It sounds like you're ready for social media, mini docs on your stuff. That's kind of impressive. I didn't realize that you went in and all in on getting to know it. I thought you were just went on because you didn't necessarily have experience in a kitchen the way that most people do, the route that people take. They work in a kitchen for a long time and then they decide, I want to make my own kind of food and I want to make my own decisions.
Yeah.
They're kind of guided in that respect. Did your uncle help you guide through that, or was it just your intrigue and you knew that this is how a kitchen should be promoted, and your knowledge should be on par?
Yeah, that was all me, and especially because I felt I was representing that small section, obviously, of the store, and it wasn't. It felt like it was obviously just me, and I couldn't. If a customer came up to me and asked me what fish are you using, or how are you preparing this, or what are the flavor, how is this being done, I couldn't just tell my uncle Theo, can you come answer this question? Right. What do I say here? Right. So obviously I was in charge of that little section. So I was the salesperson. I was the person on not on the register, but I was taking the orders and I was prepping the food along as well too.
Did you watch documentaries growing up, or Food Network or anything like that? Because I feel like that outlook is, again, it's from experience in most places, but you're new to it.
Yeah, I was new to it for sure. I mean, growing up, documentaries for sure. There were always in
or shows.
Shows, yeah. I watched quite a bit of TV growing up, for sure. Right. So I think maybe that definitely played a huge role in and helping me understand what it is to sell something to a person, you know,
Right.
how to reel people in to try to buy your product as well too. Make it interesting also. And I think a lot of it as well too was just the store itself, you know, kind of in a way not feeling too confident that like I'm selling mariscos that isn't tied to a certain region, right? Like I couldn't, and I didn't feel comfortable saying like, oh, my mariscos are Sinaloa style or my mariscos are Nayarit style when I'm not from there, you know, and especially my family isn't from there either. So I couldn't do that, right? So it come to a generalization like how do I label this as like this is art, you know? This is our interpretation of mariscos, and it's just we're from LA, you know, and it's an LA style, you know, of a marisco. So it was definitely just trying to find the acceptance, I guess, in the community to what we were doing. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm going to be honest with you, completely honest. You wouldn't be here if your agua chile wasn't fire. I'm a fan.
Thanks,
of
man.
your agua chile. Also, your taco dorados, your shrimp tacos are phenomenal, like chef's kiss. So yeah, no, it's you wouldn't be here if your food wasn't good. I'm just gonna be honest. Yeah, like it would just be
the food got me here. Man.
Yeah. Let's be honest. The food got you. The combination of food and your kid. Yeah. Because you have to be a dad to be on this show. True. So you owe a big thank you to your daughter. Yeah. And your wife because she did carry her. Yeah. But no, your food's fantastic. You know your agua chile with tostitos is my favorite thing ever and the best accident I think I've ever experienced.
That's a good combo, man. Yeah,
dude, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, the chips, man. It's a little MSG in the chips, probably. I don't know, but
yeah, I mean maybe, but no,
that combo is.
But your agua chile by itself is phenomenal. So when you add that, it's like, I mean, you tosti locos a bunch of stuff here, right? Yeah, and in Mexico, exactly. But you put agua chiles on top of it, and it's
the combo. Yep.
Right.
Lately, it's been the mango shrimp ceviche on tostitos, and then I add like chipotle mayo, and then I go with the po' boy seasoning. Yeah, I go heavy on that, and some habanero sauce, and that's been like.
Oh, that's your thing right now?
That's the thing right now. Yeah, that's the guilty pleasure on a lunch break.
Your stress level, your stress reliever.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I remember the first time that we met. I think Diego Guerrero from De La Playa and Altura, my old Altura partner, with John went by. Diego was just like, "Oh, let's go have this mariscos. It's good." It was down the street in Lincoln Heights from Altura. So we went and. I did tacos dorados because that's just an easy start, you know? So then after that, Diego started doing Mariscos y Discos at Altura Art Gallery in Lincoln Heights. And that's when they invited you to be the pop-up. Yeah. And this is before your brick and mortar that you have now.
Yeah, that was back at the store.
Yeah. So, your store on Main in Lincoln Heights here in Los Angeles. But now you're like a couple blocks away. No different. Yeah. But you kind of built your name on pop-ups, which is crazy because when you look at your promotion on Instagram, I noticed that Correa's is in two different spots at the same time. Yeah. And that's impressive. But how do you get that done? And how much work goes into that? Being running a brick and mortar, but also running pop-ups.
Yeah, it's kind of hectic when I step out from it and look at it from an outside perspective. It's kind of hectic. And I mean, first of all, like it all just all the credit given to the family as well too, like my aunt, my uncle, and my wife Dulce that have been helping out. And when we first started pop-ups at the store before the restaurant, my wife stepped in as well too, Dulce. She stepped in to help out with the prep work. So she would stay and take care of the day with my aunt at the old store, and I would go and do the pop-ups either at Altura or wherever the pop-ups would be held at. But they would take care of the prep work there for the day, and then also just it starts the day before. I think what makes it a little bit easier with Mariscos is the fact that like for the most part we can cook the stuff the day before, and then like the real ingredients to making the Mariscos, which is cooking it in the lime juice or all the other flavors that go into it, that is just done in the morning before the pop-up. And then once we go to the spot, it's just serve and go. And I keep the menu simple too as well, so it's not heavy cooking over there.
Right. So you're the pop-up guy, in the family.
Take care of that. Yep.
And then you have other family members at the shop.
Yeah,
in
so
Lincoln Heights.
they take care of that. Yeah, but the store was a little bit more hectic because the store, it was carniceria, and then the produce, and then it was a mariscos. So a lot more things going on there. And like my uncle was always just behind the carniceria. My aunt would take care of the register, but when it came time when the mariscos was a little bit more busier, she would step in and help out with the cooking as well too, and the prep work. So I think there was a moment where I think we had someone help us out on register, but it was definitely trying to like have a little bit more of a team for sure. And now at the restaurant, even then, like, yeah, we'll have someone come in and help out for the register, but then take over. And then so it's easier at the restaurant for sure to kind of take on a pop-up. But even then, sometimes, like if a pop-up's on a Saturday and it's a busy Saturday at the restaurant and I have to be out the door for a pop-up early on a Saturday, it can get kind of hectic. Right. So yeah, it's not an easy task to do. And sometimes I feel like, all right, am I doing this out of like more of a, am I taking on these pop-ups more selfishly and not putting them in, not having them into consideration? But it's always just that communication with them. You know, I told my family, you know, like if you guys feel like it's a little too much, let me know and we'll stop it. But for me, it's always just like that opportunity to expose our name a little bit more, you know, to let people know this is where we're coming from, this is what we're doing, and try to bring people back to the shop. You know, that's always the end goal as well too. And aside from that, it's always just like meeting people as well, meeting new people out there and having fun with it, and also being part of whatever creative events going on. That's also a huge role that I stand for.
I think it's working though. You know, from when you were doing pop-ups out of the store on Main, that was the idea, right? It was to kind of expand and get to know. And if anything, it kind of sort of helped, right? Because you had to close the original shop. Yeah. But you were still able to make money and still be open, so to speak, with pop-ups. Did that help you in that era when you were going through that closure? I
mean, definitely. I mean, financially, kind of hard to say. Not so much, but as far as like keeping the morale alive, it did help. Just because when we closed the shop up, I felt like we had reached the point, at least so to say, I felt that way, that we reached the point that I was waiting for. You know, like we started in 2017 doing the mariscos inside the shop, and the pop-ups and all that started happening in like 2019, right before or 2019, 2020. So 2 years of just patiently waiting for something more to happen, you know? So it definitely, it was unfortunate that we had to close like 2 years after the pandemic. It felt like our progress kind of was like halted and it was getting cut off, you know? So keeping pop-ups alive during that time of that closure, it kept that morale going for sure. For that reason, because it felt like, all right, we were at least still trying to be a part of the community of pop-ups and all that, being part of trying to stay alive at least, you know, relevant and not being completely shut down and on Instagram to say. Right. Yeah, at least not shutting down that presence. That we had going on.
And that's a big deal business wise.
Yeah, it is.
Because I mean, eventually it leads to what I consider like your own community. It's like a Correa's community, because you look forward now to 2025 and you have events at the space that bring a lot of people, but a lot of the same people, but also those same people bring new people. And I have to commend you on your ability to one, network, but also be yourself, because I think you seem like you stay the same everywhere you go and whoever you talk to. Because I've walked in on conversations that you've had talking to people I've never met before, and it's no different than talking to me, talking to us, talking to my wife, and so I have to commend you on that, because I think that is there's an organic feeling to that, and it's kind of homey. Like I always feel like I can go to Correa's to feel at home.
Nice.
Because it's true. Like it really is a family owned business.
Yeah.
But it also gives off the feeling of family when you go there.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Yeah, throughout the years from people coming in and whatnot, especially at the store and now at the restaurant as well too. Like keep hearing that, and that's cool to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite event that you've thrown at Correa's so far?
Damn. Well, at the new restaurant or
the new one.
At the new one, it'd have to be that grand opening.
Okay.
Yeah. That grand opening it was cool, man. It was cool, and thanks, and of course that the gratitude extends out to you guys as well too. You especially with the promo that you did for the grand opening as well too. That was huge. It was like a mini just interview on like the family and the business behind it and all that. And then of course Diego, Ed, and John and everyone, and Neilani as well too. I think she was part of it. She was part of the grand opening as well too, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, the whole Altura team for sure. You guys played a huge role in making it what the grand opening was. And to be honest, like we weren't expecting that fun of a turnout and that huge of a turnout of customers coming in, Sometimes, I mean, on Instagram, we the number of followers reflect, right? Like whatever amount that you may have. But I guess like personally speaking, sometimes you don't feel like you have people following what you're doing, So to see people show up, and it can be for a different amount of reasons. It can be because of your Instagram or because of the people, because of you guys as well too, friends of friends and whatnot. But to see that huge of a turnout and the grand opening, the way it turned out, it was fun. You
should definitely give yourself credit though.
Yeah.
More than just like saying it's Altura or the art gallery that I used to be a part of, or the team that we used to have, and because it's like there was always an idea in that group where it was meant to be, we were just going to do what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And we're going to let the organic, again, that word organic, following happen.
Yeah.
Because then at that point, you don't have to worry about like BSing your way through anything. Cause if you just do what you know how to do and you do it well, it just, you don't have to fake anything. Yeah. And I think people gravitate towards those things. But that's like a testament to what I was talking about before, where like who you are, or who it seems like you are.
Yeah.
No, it really is. I think who you are, where, supporting something true like that is nice this day and age, especially with, computers, AI, marketing, influencing. It's hard to find where a true person is, or a true movement. And I think like that was a really good concoction of both.
Yeah.
Where Altura was already coming off of a couple of art gallery shows and events that people knew that like when you went there, you were going to have fun and it was going to be cool.
Nice. Yeah.
And I think knowing what Correa's is, your brand, your family's brand, I think they knew that they were going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it was just a good combination, because that stuff just works out really, really good. I mean, even whenever I was creating content and, keeping track of our analytics, it was always surprising for me to see the number of views and shares we would get in comparison to the number of followers we had. And it contradicted whatever everybody thought analytics was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Or like, you got to share it with these people, or you need to connect it or whatever. But we organically connected. We just put out what we put out.
Yeah.
And people stuck with it. And I think people wanted that I keep saying organic, and I don't want to say organic anymore.
Yeah.
But it was a true effort, and people knew that it was real. It was real people doing real shit.
Yeah, definitely community, just community oriented stuff,
Right.
Yeah.
But you've grown your own community. Altura wasn't the only collabs you've done. you've had some influencers come in. You've had B-Roll's production crew come in.
Yeah.
High and Hungry, like all that stuff. So I think the success is there. People see it, you know, and I think it reflects on you and your values and your family's values. And it's really cool, man. It's really cool to see the success that
thanks, man. Yeah,
you've gotten and how you've grown.
I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. It's been fun, man. I mean, and going back to that word organic, like everything's happened in that way, you know. These interviews or these connections weren't bought off, you know. They just people showing up, trying the food, and friendships, or just genuinely being created in a way, you know, and just the opportunities come from that, you know, just from being welcoming, just from being genuine to myself as well too. So it's been fun to see how the fruits of the labor have brought, like, we're able to see this.
Fruits of your labor is definitely something that you and your family do.
Yeah.
And you've done, even though you're doing all this, running a business, and you work with your family, but you're also raising a child.
Yeah.
Please, describe your kid. Mila is a sweetheart.
She's a sweet girl.
Yeah.
Man. She's a sweet girl. Yeah. She's 5 now. She just turned 5 like a couple weeks ago.
Right. My apologies. I couldn't go to the party.
No, it's okay, man.
We were out of town.
No, that's fine.
Our bad.
No, you guys were there still. I mean, you know,
In spirit.
In spirit.
Yeah.
You guys were there. But dude, she was born in 2020 during the pandemic, so it was hectic year, man. And it's been 5 years since, so it's even crazier to think that the time went by so quick when 2020 was the year that it was, man. So it's been that year. When she was born, it was didn't know if I was gonna be a part of it, you know, because you kept hearing that dads weren't able to go into the labor room and whatnot, you know. But I was fortunate enough to be there throughout the whole process, and see life right in front of you, right in front of my eyes, you know. But yeah, other than that, like, aside from that experience, she's a sweet little girl, man. I love her so much. All the family says that she's like an identical twin of myself, and you know, sometimes the facial features, I kind of see them, but as she's getting older and now her being 5 years old, like her personality and the way she moves, the way she is, the way she her sense of humor as well too. I'm like, man, that was me when I was a kid, you know. That was, or like certain things, you know. So I see it now, but yeah, she's a sweetheart, man. And yeah, I got lucky that it was a girl for the first time. I don't know why, but I had a dream when we found out we were pregnant. I had a dream that I was pushing a stroller, and I knew it was a girl inside. I didn't physically see a baby in the dream. I just knew it was a girl. Right. And then Dulce wanted to do a gender reveal. So I think it was a balloon that we popped or what, but we didn't set anything on fire. But it was it was a balloon that popped. The confetti came out pink, and I was like stoked. I was like, got a girl. Yeah, I got a girl. Like, I don't know why, but I guess I wanted a girl.
Right.
So, yeah.
You manifested it,
I guess,
in a way.
I don't know, man. Just life handed,
right.
Life handed me a girl.
Yeah. So that girl actually is like you in more ways than one, but also she grows up in your shop. Like, she grows up in the family shop.
Yeah. Yep.
Is it hard to run a shop while your kids run around?
Sometimes.
She's there.
Sometimes, yeah. Especially, it gets, especially like during lunch rush hour, for instance. Before she started going to daycare, right. There was a couple of days where we would take her in, and during the lunch rush hour, it gets small space, so it gets packed, and she would get overwhelmed, you know. Before daycare, her social skills were slowly developing, you know. So kids would see a cute little girl and just like want to talk to her and say hi, or you know, and then she would get overwhelmed, so she would start crying. She would come over to the kitchen and she'd want my aunt to hug her, you know, carry her, and like, sorry mom, like we're busy, we're cooking, this and that, you know. So it was hard to accommodate that, and then her just a crying child during trying to push out aguachiles and some fried shrimp tacos. It's good stuff. So yeah, it's a hard one to juggle, you know. So we found the daycare, got lucky with that, and that eased that job out a lot. So and plus she's developing her social skills in school. She's learning So that's a huge help for sure.
You know, I wanted to ask you about like the differences of raising a kid in a store and not, but like I don't think you have that experience at all because you grew up in one and your family took care of you, and then now it's the same thing again, but with Mila.
Kind of, yeah. Kind of.
That's interesting because you don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I mean I get. I love Antonio. He's everything to me, but my kid frustrates me sometimes. He doesn't frustrate me. I'm frustrated with like work, and he just comes in at the wrong time or whatever. So I can't imagine what it's like to, you know, you physically need to be making stuff and prepping and in the kitchen too.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how hard that is.
It gets kind of hectic, man.
Yeah, man.
And even like right now, she's a little older, and sometimes she has those bursts of emotions come out as well too. You know, especially now she gets out of school and it's a long day for her.
Right.
At 5 years old or 4 years old, you know, when she was
five going on 17.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right?
Yeah. Right.
That's what I hear about girls.
Dude. I don't know. Yeah. It's a little different, but yeah, it's hard to juggle, man. And, you know, as adults, we comprehend things, obviously, you know, like if me trying to tell her like, we're busy, you know, right now, give us a second, be patient. And they don't comprehend it the same way an adult or a teenager is going to comprehend it, you know? So it's hard to have them understand. Yeah. So especially in that moment, like when we're busy, it's hard to make them like, I wish you can just like realize, okay, like I'm telling you, you know, be patient just for a minute or two and we'll get to you, you know, but yeah, it's a hard one to juggle sometimes. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's in a way for me, it's cool to have her there at the shop while we're working because, I have the blessing to have her next to me, you know, instead of having her with someone else, like a nanny take care of her, for instance, you know, or something like that. So it's cool to have her there. You know, she's also growing up in the environment, seeing us working, and she'll hopefully understand and value the time and effort that goes into trying to provide for her as well too, you know, when she gets older and she realizes that. So I feel like, I mean, has its pros and its cons as well too, you know.
Witnessing work ethic obviously works. Dad is a nice example of that.
Thanks,
growing up in the kitchen, and evolving, you know, doing those things. So I see your point when you talk about being able to have, being able to see your kid while you're working.
Yeah.
And not in a weird sense. Like I grew up with like my parents, doing a lot of, like housekeeping kind of work as side jobs to make extra money.
Yeah.
Or taking me to work, but they worked in like the service industry. So, you know, they would have to be yes people, you know, no matter what the situation is.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
But I got to be with them, not by necessarily choice. It was more like they had to.
Yeah.
But, you know, those moments do affect me now. I recently started going to therapy and really talking about growing up also with a journalist writing from the Boyle Heights beat, and talking to my therapist and talking to her made me realize that like those instances of those experiences of seeing your parents work really hard in the situations they go through have a huge effect on the future, because I would consider that like a systemic trauma thing, right? Because they have to work, and there's nobody to take care of me, so I have to go to work with them.
Exactly.
Now I'm 40 years old and I run my own business, my own production company, and I have a choice now to see my kid, take care of my kid when I can see my kid, or we can go on a little vacation together because we're going on a work trip or whatever, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I really wanted that because I wanted that freedom because, well, one, there's nobody else to help take care of Antonio because it's just me and my wife, Nicole. And we have one babysitter who's a sweetheart and she's great, but like she's not available all the time, right?
Yeah.
And we're not going to leave him for days with the babysitter, right? I feel very lucky and privileged to be able to do that. And it stems from seeing my parents struggle and trying to not be in that hierarchy that kind of sort of keeps you from having those choices.
Exactly,
You know,
yeah.
I don't need someone else to make my schedule. I want to make my own schedule
Yeah.
because I want to be there for my kid. Or I want to hang out with my family, you know, things like that. So I think Mila growing up in a kitchen is awesome because when are y'all not working, right? Like when are y'all not doing something? And that work ethic is going to carry over somewhere.
Yeah.
Or who knows? Maybe it's the third generation of Correas, you know?
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's really cool that she gets to experience that, but also not by choice.
Yeah.
She has to.
Not by choice, but sometimes she's fun. Like she has fun at the shop. Is she and she creates her own environment there. You know, we have boxes of stuff of all the stuff that we have there along the sides inside the restaurant. So she'll grab a marker and she'll start drawing on them. She'll start putting stickers everywhere, you know. So she tries to pass her own boredom, which it's fun to see, you know, her expressing her creativity and all that. But then at the same time, like what runs in my head is just like, oh man, this little girl, she might be a little bored, you know. We might kind of be better off if she was at home, you know, and or taking her to the park or something, you know, instead of like, yeah. Sometimes I wish I can have that. I guess that's 9 to 5 schedule, you know, where I can get off or get off when she gets off of school, you know, and then spend a little bit more time in the evening with her, for sure. So it's just finding that balance at least. And for now, you know, I'd like to remind myself that it's for now. It's not going to be forever, you know. I want to work towards being able to step away for just a little bit, you know, for midday and curate a schedule for everyone in the shop, for the family, you know. So that way we can spend a little bit more time with our own side of the family, right?
But not at work.
Not at work,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, because sure. That's the idea behind it. My uncle and my aunt, I saw them at the store, working day in and day out, sacrificing a lot of time, you know, to build it and to keep it running. So they definitely there was a good amount of years that my cousins, their kids were in the same situation that Mila was in. You know, they grew up. I saw my little cousins grow up in the store. And if you remember the store, there's like 3 aisles. Aisle in the middle is where they would hang out. They would sit down and they would eat their snacks.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Like they made that little space their own, you know. Mm-hmm. And it's like it's the middle of an aisle in a store.
Yeah.
I wish I had pictures of that, but yeah, they would watch. There was a TV. My aunt would throw on the TV for them, the cartoons and whatnot.
The digital babysitter.
Yeah, the digital babysitter. Yeah. pre iPads and all that.
Right.
But yeah, they would sit down. They would do their homework sometimes there. They would eat their snacks, and also just maybe their resources, my uncle, my aunt's resources, didn't allow for them to be able to step away and have it self-running, make it a self-running store. And so they sacrificed a lot, man, which is, we're still, as a family, working together. You know, their kids are older, but I still would like to be able to structure it. And that's the goal, is to structure it to whereas, you know, we can step away for a little bit and it can be self-sustainable, and they can spend time with their kids, you know, and I can step away as well too and spend time with my little girl as well too, you know. So that's the goal. And the only thing that is like moving to the restaurant 2 years ago, felt like we had to start all over, even though we were already established since 2017. But yeah, just moving into the restaurant, starting kind of from scratch in a sense, you know, has kind of paused that progression slightly. So that's the goal. That's what we're working towards, you know. So it's funny to see the different goals that have been set throughout the time. You know, in the beginning when we first started, my goal, for instance, was to try to bring in or to try to have our name grow a little bit more and for people to come in, you know, from all over the city. And now, and aside from that, it was also just the food as well too. Bring new items, you know, make it more interesting, make the menu a little bit more interesting. And now the goal is like gotta spend more time with the family. You know, how am I going to make this self-sustainable? The restaurant self-sustainable. You know,
Right.
So now that's the goal. You know, the food is there, but now it's just like, okay, how do we grow the business? You know, how do we grow it where I can bring employees in, maybe, you know, or, you know, take some time off.
It seems like you're understanding capacity, that you can't do everything that you want all at once.
You can't.
And things have to, things compress, you know, they compound, right? All the effort you put in now will pay off later.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the goal.
I mean, you were doing more pop-ups, and you're talking about having more time. You were at Smorgasburg, LA for a couple of years.
Smorgasburg, yeah,
right?
Smorgasburg.
2 years?
2 years.
Okay.
We just ended Smorg. We left Smorg back in November of 24 last year. Yeah.
And most of that was because you wanted to cut back, or you needed to cut back.
Yeah.
At what point? At what did you need to cut back, and what did you have to cut back for?
For instance, Smorgasburg was it was definitely a lot of work for sure. You know, it started the day before Saturday. Smorgasburg was on Sundays. Started Saturday, you know, prepping for that day, and then waking up early on Sundays. You know, earlier than, I think that was like the earliest we would wake up in the whole entire week. So just to prep, you know, and get going, and then be at Smorg by a certain time. And then by the time we would get out, it was already like 6 o'clock, you know, end our day at 6 o'clock on a Sunday. It's technically kind of seen as family day, you know. But yeah, it was starting to become starting to weigh a little bit on us because of all that work, and it's just 4 of us, you know, at the shop, you know, but definitely had extra hands at the pop-ups and all that, and for that day. But yeah, it just, for me, doing other pop-ups on a Saturday and then doing Smorg and running that for 2 years, it started to like really burn me out, because it started feeling like, for the most part, some days were good at Smorg, some days were tough, you know. So seeing all the effort that went into it, and then also being at Smorg, and then sometimes just seeing like all the families being out and having their family day, you know, and then me thinking like, oh, well, my little girl's, you know, at home with my mom's taking care of her, you know, and this could be the day that I could be spending with her, you know, instead of like working hard. But it was just a small sacrifice at that moment, you know, that fortunately, working for myself, I was able to step away at any point, you know, and then there was a lot of times where I would have liked to take her with me, you know, just to hang out, but her age wasn't appropriate to have her there full day, and especially me cooking. But yeah, just taking on too much. Definitely, it started feeling like that. It started feeling like I was taking on a little too much, and I needed some time to breathe and spend time with her as well too. So that was the idea. The idea was to step away from that, just to have the weekends a little bit more relaxed, you know, and spend some time with her in the morning, you know, and then go to work and all that.
Has it paid off? It's been 6 months.
Yeah.
Has it paid off?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's paid off, man. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the weekends are a little bit more relaxed, you know, especially not necessarily the mornings. It's the evenings and the day before Saturday, you know, like hang out. If I'm not doing a pop-up at night, hang out, probably get some dinner done, or try to do something, take her out, you know, so it's definitely more relaxed. Sometimes like we're still getting out at 5 or 6 on a Sunday, but the energy is still there to get out and cook something or take her out and do something really, really fast, you know. Right. And so it's definitely like, it's paid off.
Like we've unloaded a lot of your family running a business.
Yeah.
You having a daughter in the business, literally in the business, not really in the business, but you doing pop-ups. For as long as I've known you, I've never seen you stressed. I've never seen you, even when you're busy, it doesn't seem like you're stressed. It doesn't seem like you keep like a calm head on yourself. Yeah. I don't know if you notice that or you not, but I'm pretty sure that you hide it.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Because who doesn't get stressed, right? Especially in the restaurant business. Yeah. But like, how do you handle, like, where did you learn to do that? Because like, I'm going to play on stereotypes. We're Mexicans, we're Latinos, we're Chicanos. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's usually some sort of like breaking point, and usually it's not pretty.
Yeah.
I've never seen it with you out in public or anything like that. Where do you keep your calm, and where did you learn to do this?
I mean, I think it's not that I learned it. I think it's just a customer service side of it, just being at the shop all the time. And then obviously there's good days and there's bad days, on the personal level, so whenever the energy isn't there to take on the customer service side of it, sometimes I'll just I'll talk to Dulce and I'm like, babe, you take the register, not feeling it today, I'll be in the back. So we'll do that, and vice versa as well too. But yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, going back to that, the customer service side of it, you always have to put on that friendly smile,
What if I'm not your customer? How do you still do it?
I mean, if you're not my customer, I mean, I probably same. I'm not one to treat a stranger bad because I'm not having a good day. Like I don't feel like that's fair, and I don't do that myself, right? But yeah, like when it comes to the shop, sometimes like my energy might not be there, and I feel just awkward inside, man. I feel completely awkward because, like, for instance, even if it's like a homie coming in that I haven't seen in a couple of days, and I'm not feeling it 100%, and I just have to act like, yo, what's up, dude? How you been? Like, like I'm interested on how the homie's been, but it's just my energy there isn't 100%, and it feels awkward. But I try my best to hide that, push it away, But then it's also therapeutical, man, because I've noticed it in the past as well too. My day would start off like on a bad note, or we're not feeling it. Walk into the shop or into the restaurant, and then like the first customer that comes in, whether it's someone I know or not, but if that person came in with like just happy to walk in and try our food, that sparks a conversation and it flips the mood around. So that's why I appreciate the line of work as well too, man, because it's cool to see that, and it's an instant change that I've seen. Like bad mood in the beginning, and then once that initial conversation with that customer starts, my day turns around. So it's cool to see that for sure, and I've seen it a bunch of times. And but for the most part, yeah, like that's how I navigate through that, man. And
wow,
yeah,
I'm impressed. So because yeah, I try to stay true as much as possible, so I wear my emotions on my sleeve.
Oh, I do the same, man. I think
do you?
Once
again, I've never seen you like that, like in a negative space. Yeah. But I think that's interesting. I think one story you've shared with me was, I think it was during labor. Was it during labor that we talked about, where you would go and you would like work out or something like that, like or was it during the pregnancy?
That was Mila. Yeah. During the pregnancy.
Yeah.
When I found out that we were pregnant, or that Dulce was pregnant, we were expecting that, and mind you, like we planned it out, like we knew, we knew what we wanted, but even then, I guess growing up and just the responsibility of bringing a child into the world, it was something that overwhelmed me a lot, and I understood the responsibility behind it, so I didn't take it lightly, So even once we found out we were pregnant, we were expecting, it was a weird moment, because you would think, like, if you knew you were trying, you would jump up and like be excited, like, we're having a baby, But for me, it was just like reality hit. Like, okay, this is getting real. This is real now, right? Now you're going to be expecting. And it took me like a month to kind of like, or a couple months at least, to kind of come to that realization, and accept it as, the days went by. That was like my coping mechanism, take it day by day. And that's what I kept telling myself. So just very anxious, very nervous for it, because not knowing what to expect and how the pregnancy, first time pregnancy, obviously. So my coping mechanism was like just doing a couple push-ups, or like a little workout routine.
Wow.
And I think that was probably like the last time I worked out, dude. Probably like hit some push-ups on a regular basis 5 years ago. But that was my way of coping with that. Like my way of preparing, for that moment, And mind you, like all I had to do was just be a supportive boyfriend or husband at the time, for me, for Dulce, and that's it. And she was doing all the all the hard work, right?
We ain't doing shit.
Yeah, we're not doing much.
We don't
Just,
do anything.
just
During pregnancy, we don't do anything.
we don't. Yeah,
No.
just accommodate the cravings and all. That's all, right? Just go out and buy the food
as much as we can. Yes,
as much as we can.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my way of like just coping with it. And like I grew up, playing sports, so I guess that was my way of like falling back on something that helped me prepared, for that moment. It was exercise, like training routines or whatnot, But that was something that definitely like helped me for that moment.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting because like only recently I started going to therapy, and everything's kind of been helping me out with cutting back on a bunch of stuff that I didn't need to be doing. It helped me understand myself better and what my issues are. Mm-hmm. But a side effect of that is like I don't drink as much, I don't smoke as much, and I work out more. And nice. I realized that working out is really it's just a really good like stress reliever. Like it's like a free endorphin kick, right?
Definitely, yeah.
But I never really thought of it that way. Mm-hmm. I always used to just work out because I was pissed. I was like, okay, I'm angry. I'm gonna go pump. We're good.
Nice.
Good lift in. We're golden.
Yeah.
But like, I would have to be home to do that. If I'm anywhere else, I can't do that. I could do push-ups. I could do sit-ups. I could do stuff like that. So the idea that you were doing that to kind of not to stay sexy to your pregnant wife, but to kind of get through the pregnancy. Because I mean, look, future fathers do go through some stresses as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
Not anywhere near, let's not. I mean, I don't want to downplay our stresses during pregnancies, but the mom is definitely going through more.
100%. Yeah, dude. Yeah, come on.
For sure.
For the most part, like, suck it up, dude.
Yeah, like, you don't have to carry it. Like, dude, no.
There's a lot that goes into the mental game of like preparing yourself to be a dad. It's just like, just as I guess as a provider. Like, all right, like how am I gonna provide once the baby's here? And like, what am I doing? And especially like working for yourself when you're nothing is guaranteed. And I always had this phrase in my mind, working at the restaurant and like at the shop and working for this for so long, is tomorrow's paycheck is never guaranteed. It's the line of work. You're working for yourself. Customers aren't guaranteed to come in tomorrow, and it's something that I've always had in my head, and that's always that was always the mental state. And a little bit of a stress as well too, because now at the time I was expecting a little girl coming in, and is this going to grow, or or do I have to find something else? And there was a moment where there was a customer that came in to the shop, and this was the time where we found I knew we were pregnant, and he got a job for the city, and painted it really easy. He's like, yeah, dude, like, just started. It's really easy work. If you want, I can get you in, just let me know. And like, know a guy knows a guy, right? And that was a crucial moment there where it made me think, kind of compare both lifestyles. It's like I can have something secure and have not only just secure work and a secure paycheck, but benefits that come with that type of job, working for a city, right? So I was thinking heavily on that and making that move and leaving the food industry as well too, for that reason. Just wanted something secure. And I remember going home and talking to Dulce about that, and that kind of went on for like a week. And actually me looking into like what it was, that line of work, looking into it and what I needed to do to get into that. But just talking to Dulce, and Dulce has always been very supportive. She told me, remember her telling me, just wait a bit, stick it out, just keep it going. I have a good feeling about this, and having a supportive partner plays a huge role in the decision making, because I don't know if it's a male instinct or not, but sometimes, or like me personally, I catch myself in wanting to see result quick, and if I don't see it quick, it's just like, all right, well, move on to something else or start something new, kind of just throwing the towel in a way. So I guess, I don't know, if it wasn't for her, who knows if I would have thrown in the towel or not, the towel. But that was definitely a huge supportive role that allowed me to keep my ground and continue this. And I can look back now and say, like, okay, like we're doing it. We made it. Yeah. We made it along. Scary, but
you made it.
But we made it. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
A little rocky, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for the most part. But yeah, that was that, man.
Good, man. Well, dude, congratulations on everything. It's been a pleasure to finally talk to you on the show.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for getting us coffee.
Oh, of course, yeah, man.
Elephant
Hills, thank you.
Elephant and El Sereno.
Yeah.
Here in El Sereno. Appreciate you.
Yeah, a little mocha action.
I got a little caffeine hit. We're good.
Yeah.
But no, dude, thank you so much. Thank you for opening up. I appreciate it. But before we end the show, there's one thing you got to do.
Yeah.
You got to look in this camera. And I want you to leave a message for your kid to find later on.
Oh man, you're gonna make me emotional. Make me tear up.
If it helps any, I'll look away.
Yeah, no, so close your eyes, man. Don't look.
But yeah, I'm gonna listen though, because I need to meter these. But yeah, right here in this camera, something that you want to leave for your kid, that will eventually be found, hopefully in a Google search or a Chat GPT search or something. But please leave
today's age.
Yeah, please leave her something.
Yeah, definitely, man. Ah, man, it's really gonna make me emotional. All right, Mila, this is a podcast that we're doing, and it's one of Dad's first time and sitting down and talking about what it is to be a dad, but. Sorry, dude. I have to cut this.
Don't be sorry.
It's a little emotional, man. Shoot. Come on, dude. Suck it up. But yeah, it's sometimes it requires a lot of patience to be the fun dad, to guide you through your childhood, make and allow you to have fun. To make sure you have fun for the most part, and not try to correct you too much. And it's a lot of patience trying to balance work and trying to balance the household as well too. But at the end of the day, I want you to know that we love you a lot, and working hard. The purpose of working hard is to make sure you have a beautiful childhood. For you to grow up and have so many memories, of your childhood, because the childhood is what allows us to grow as people. If we had a fun childhood, that's going to make your adulthood a lot better. That's my experience. I had a beautiful childhood. Your grandma gave me a beautiful childhood, and my family as well too. I'm blessed for that, and that's what allows me to be myself today, my childhood. So it's sorry, if at one point, I'm tough, but it's not because of you. It's, just the daily life of working, and the patience, the frustrating moments, that we have as adults, sometimes, and that's something that you'll grow on and you'll learn when you get older, but my main goal is to give you a beautiful childhood, and that's what I hope you can have. I love you so much, Mom.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, that was kind of hard to swallow the tears, but yeah.
No, man. Look, it's tough. I've left some messages for my kid too.
Nice.
To eventually be found. And sometimes you don't ever get a chance to do that.
You don't, man.
That's what I really wanted to do with this pod was, these kids are going to find our stuff somewhere down the line.
Yeah. Especially in this age with,
Right. But it's to match your organicness and your the things you share. You radiate truth, and
Thank
it's
you.
nice.
Thank you,
and
man.
I appreciate you sharing with me and us and dude, thank you. Thank you so much.
No, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you having me first of all too, and yeah, everything like you said, and just organic. Everything's been organic, like meeting you guys as well too. You guys have also helped us out a lot at the shop, at the restaurant. Our growth definitely. It's all just been it's been fun to be able to cross paths, especially, man. Yeah.
It's a good one. And lastly, thank you for having good aguachile, because otherwise you wouldn't be.
Dude, let's go cook some up right now, man.
Let's go do it.
Let's have some for lunch.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you having me, man.
Special thanks to our guests and listeners. Feel free to reach out on all our ads, suggest some topics, leave some feedback, or just drop a hello. Remember, you're never alone, Dad. This has been the Creative Dad Pod.